The Oryx Dominion ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. They saw themselves as wise, perfect, and peaceful. But when it came to other species, especially one called humans, they saw only a problem. Humans were different. Too wild, too emotional, too unpredictable, the Oryx said. They fight too much. They don't follow rules. They are dangerous. But humans were also strong. It's too strong to destroy outright. So the Oryx made a decision. Send them to die slowly in the Great Galactic Council Chamber. 12 Oryx elders sat in silence. Their eyes glowed gold. Their long necks twisted like snakes. Their skin shimmered with power. High Elder Vrattle stood and spoke. The human species is unstable. They cause war. They spread chaos. We will not destroy them because that would make martyrs. We will send them. 2. Class 0 to 9. A chill passed through the chamber. Class 0 to 9. A dead planet. No cities. No food, storms, radiation, creatures that hunted in the dark. No species had ever lasted more than 10 years there. Let them live there, Vrattal said, until they are gone, quietly forgotten. And so the sentence was passed. The Oryx lead to the galaxy, they said. Earth was moved for protection. They told other species that humans were restarting their civilization in peace. But the truth, Earth was now a prison. The humans never had a choice. The Oryx ships arrived. In Earth's orbit at dawn, they disabled all satellites, crashed all systems. And without warning, it began the harvest. Billions were taken. Some fought, some cried. Most never even saw what happened. In one night, Earth was emptied. Humans were dumped like garbage on a distant world of storms and death. They called Idvernic-7 to the Oryx. It was nothing but a burning rock. No oxygen in some zones. Constant lightning storms. Creatures that could smell blood from 2 kilometers away. Seas that boiled. Deserts that froze. Ruins of a dead race, long buried. This was now Earth's new home, and no one expected them to survive. But they did. The first weeks were chaos, people. Died from cold, from hunger. From the beasts that roamed at night. Small groups tried to fight. Others tried to hide. Some gave up. But not all. From the dust and fire, leaders began to rise. A soldier named Eva Monroe started building shelters. From crashed Oryx debris, a young engineer, Kieran Ray, found a way to purify the acid rain into water. A scientist, Dr. Elia Bren, began studying the local plants. Some were deadly, but others could heal. Bit by bit, the humans stopped surviving and started adapting. The Oryx didn't notice. For the first 10 years, they monitored from orbit and smiled. Barely 10% still alive, one said. Soon they'll be gone. They shut down surveillance. They never looked again. They thought it was over. But on Varnak 7, deep in a canyon covered in ice, the humans had discovered something impossible. Ruins. Not natural. Built old. Alien. A buried base of something long dead or maybe sleeping. Kea, Anne, the engineer, stood in front of the rusted doors and whispered, "This is not Oryx." Dr. Alea touched the markings on the wall, curved, sharp, and glowing faintly. No, this is older. Eva, now a leader of a large human tribe, looked up, and if it still works, it might be our way off this rock. But opening the door was dangerous. The symbols pulsed when they touched them. The sky above darkened for 5 days. The beasts grew louder at night. Something beneath the ground began to move, and when they finally opened the main gate, a voice spoke. Not in words, not in sound, but in thought. "You are not them, but you carry their rage. You may enter." The humans stepped inside. What they found was beyond anything they had ever seen. Machines that could think, weapons that could reshape, stone, suits that healed wounds, a map of the galaxy, 10,000 years old. They didn't just find a base, they found a legacy of a forgotten race called the Darren Kaya, people who had once ruled stars. Long before the ORX, and their power had not died. It had only been waiting. 10. More years passed. Varnak 7 changed. From a prison world to a forge. Humans trained, fought, adapted, merged the old tech with their own minds. It became faster, stronger, not like the Oryx. Something else. And then, on the 40th year of exile, a ship launched, the first in 4 decades. It was not built for war, but for message. A warning. It entered Oryx space in silence. They tried to shoot it down. They COULD. In single quotes, it landed in front of the High Council gates. And inside, a single human walked out covered in black armor with glowing eyes, holding nothing but a memory chip. He placed it at their feet, then said 2 words. We remember. The memory chip the human left at the Oryx High Council gate was small, barely the size of a fingernail. But what it carried shook the galaxy. Inside were images, footage of Earth's fall, children screaming as Oryx ships hovered overhead, entire cities collapsing in silence, Oryx commanders laughing as they dragged scientists and soldiers from their homes. And then, the darkness of VAR and AK-7, Darm storms, fires, creatures feeding on the weak, bones stacked like towers, survivors building shelters from wreckage, a baby born in a cave, then a voice, human, calm, you sent us here to die. We didn't. We evolved. Remember everything. The Oryx Council went silent. High Elder Vital watched the feed, his golden skin flickering with tension. This is fake, he said, but his eyes didn't blink, because deep down, he knew it wasn't. The council panicked behind closed doors. They can launch ships. They can attack. If they've learned to survive, they've changed. Why didn't we monitor them? No answers, only fear, because they'd forgotten Rule 1 of Dominion. Never let the fire you thought you killed keep burning in the dark. Meanwhile, back on Varnak 7, humans were ready. Eva Monroe stood before a massive hangar carved into the ice. Dozens of new human-built ships waited, each one merged with old Darren Kitek. Fast, sharp, silent, she turned to the crowd gathered on the stone floor, thousands of survivors. Warriors, we are not going to war, she said. They are going home. They didn't cheer. They stood in silence, because they all remembered in orbit above Varnak 7. The second human ship launched, TNS Deliverance, a sleek, black vessel built from bones of crashed Oryx cruisers and ancient tech fused with human code. Aboard, Captain Eric Vale, born in exile, trained in shadow. He had one mission, to scout the galaxy, not to conquer, but to see who laughed, who feared, and who deserved a warning in deep space. The Deliverance crossed into Krell, territory first. The Krell had once joined the Oryx in relocating humanity. Now they stared in shock as a human ship passed there. Border without fear, no shields, no threats. Just one message, sent in every language. We were not erased. Back on Oryx Prime, the Council tried to hide the truth. They told their people the memory chip was an enemy. Propaganda, that humans had gone extinct. That there was nothing to worry about. But the galaxy had already seen it. The footage spread. Other species watched with wide eyes. They saw the storms, the beasts, the ruins, and they saw that humans lived through it. One Vrax war leader said it best, if they survived that. What do you think they'll survive next? Then the first real shock came. A Terran signal appeared near the edges of Oryx-controlled space. It was a warning beacon, a small drone. It's floating alone, broadcasting. A repeating message, your sentence is over, we're coming to talk. You won't like what we've become. In the same moment, across dozens of planets, systems went dark. Communications scrambled. Power grids failed. Not from weapons, but from a virus. Human, dash-built, ghost. Code silently planted into Oryx networks over the past 20 years they never saw. It coming. High Elder Verital tried to issue a fleet-wide lockout. He failed. The code spoke back. We remember, do you? On Varnak 7, Eva watched the stars from her command deck. "They've seen the message," Ray said beside her. Nodded. "They thought they'd buried us in fire." Kieran replied, voice calm. "They didn't know we were the fire." And far away, deep in the unknown zones of the galaxy, a long-dormant Oryx outpost powered back on. But this time, wasn't the Oryx who controlled it. It was human inside the main screen. One word blinked. Begin. They called it exile. But it became something else. A fire, forge, a transformation. Because the humans who walked off Varnic 7 were not the same species that had been thrown onto it. 40 years ago, the Oryx thought they'd sent a primitive race to die on a way. Class Zero world? What they didn't know was, Class Zero worlds changed the rules. They didn't just test survival. They pushed evolution, forced adaptation, and something inside humanity broke free. Something ancient, buried deep in DNA, waiting for challenge. The signs were subtle at first, faster, reflexes, sharper eyesight, pain resistance. Children born on Varnic 7 grew up with bone density 3x stronger than humans on Earth. They could hear the breathing of predators from 50 meters away. Their skin healed faster in toxic air. They didn't just adapt, they became something new. On Earth, humans had been emotional. Divided on Varnic 7, they became unified by survival. Tribes turned to networks. Networks turned to councils. Became command corps. They didn't argue over leaders. They followed those who kept them alive. And they remembered everything. Every betrayal. Every scream. Every drop of acid rain. When the Terran vessel Deliverance entered neutral space, of Vrax, fleet moved to intercept it. Standard procedure. They expected diplomacy. What they got was silence. The human ship didn't fire. It just moved fast, unseen by sensors, invisible to scans, glided past their ships like smoke. Then, every screen on the Vrax bridge flickered and displayed the same message. "We're not the same anymore. Don't treat us like we are." The Vrax didn't fire. They turned their ships around in another system. Siren intelligence. Base detected a breach, not through doors, but through dreams. Their scientists began having the same nightmare. Black sun. A frozen battlefield. Humans with glowing veins and eyes like fire watching, waiting, unmoving. But it wasn't code. It was human psychic tech. Pulled from the ruined psychic tech. Pulled from the ruins of the Darren, converged with Terran minds. Not mind control, just fear, delivered in the most efficient way. Meanwhile, back on Varnic 7, transformation continued. Dr. Elia Bren stood in a massive chamber beneath the ice, surrounded by dormant alien machines now humming to life. "These weren't just weapons," he whispered. "They're tools for becoming." Eva Monroe walked forward. She touched the edge of a glowing stone wall, and the symbols changed. They responded to her, recognized her, accepted her. "We were supposed to die," she said. "Instead, we evolved. Humanity wasn't a species anymore. It was becoming a force, not galactic conquerors, but something worse to those who had tried to erase them." Mirror, showing the galaxy what it looked like when it failed to kill its own monsters. The Oryx knew, and they were afraid, because their scanners picked up strange changes in space, pockets of gravity bending near Terran ships. Planets were human. Scouts landed. Storms stopped. Oryx scientists began to whisper one terrifying thought. The Class Zero world didn't just make them stronger, it made them different. On the edge of Gorth space, 3 human drop pods landed on a frozen mining moon. No guns, just small beacons. When the Gorth security forces arrived, they found strange structures already built, sleek, silent, black metal fused with the ground. A single message played in their language. "We don't want your land. We want your attention. We're coming through. Decide what you'll be, walls or windows." Then the pod's self-dash erased. No battle. No threat. Just a choice. Back on Oryx Prime. High Elder Vital stared at the report in silence. One word repeated again and again in the Oryx data stream. Post-human. Not the same. Not simple. Not predictable. And not afraid. In a hidden bunker, beneath Varnic 7's surface, the new project was almost complete. A gate. A wormhole system based on Darren Kai. Tech linked to hundreds of old ruins across the galaxy. It could open anywhere, anytime, and deliver them. Humanity, or whatever they had become. Kieran Ray looked at the console. Once we switch this on, he said, we're no longer in the shadows. Eva nodded. Good. Let them see. Let them feel what we've become. She placed her hand on the final lever and across the stars. Something changed. Energy pulsed. Old satellites blinked. Ancient weapons turned. Long-dead machines awoke. The gate opened. The new era didn't begin with war. It began with a presence. A whisper across the stars. They're not human anymore. When the first gate opened, the galaxy panicked. One moment, the skies were normal. The next, a hole appeared above 5 major worlds. A silent rift in space. No light, no sound, just black dawn. And then, they came. Through human ships? But not like before. These vessels were cold and smooth. Built from Varnax Evans' dead metals and Darren Kai tech. They looked like weapons that grew, not ones that were built. They didn't fire, they didn't speak. They just entered orbit and waited. The Vrax Council held emergency talks. They are warning us, said one war leader. No, said another. They are showing us what they are now. The Krell scanned the nearest Terran ship. Their systems failed instantly. No scans. Worked, no communications broke through. One Krell scientist whispered, they've passed us. On Oryx Prime, panic finally broke through pride. High Elder Vratal met with leaders from 7 major races. The humans cannot be allowed to rise, he said. They survived exile, replied the siren speaker. That doesn't mean they want war. Vratal bared his teeth. They do not have to want war to be war. And so they planned, not to negotiate, but to strike first. They called it the Unity Gathering, a secret meeting of the top 12 civilizations. From the ashes of the Gorzel to the silent moons of Thal, all came together with one goal: stop Earth before it spreads. It was not peace, it was fear. Meanwhile, on Varnic 7, the Terran Gate Nexus expanded. Now, 5 portals opened, daily each, leading to a different corner of the galaxy. Human scout teams stepped through with no weapons, just tools, maps, and intent. They didn't invade, they offered help. They spoke with forgotten species, fixed abandoned satellites, cleaned water on dying moons. But everywhere they went, powerful watched in silence. Captain Eric Vale led the deep-range contact team. On the world of Lorvix, a dying mining colony, he helped stabilize their gravity. Corps de Lorvix leaders were confused. No demands, they asked. No orders. Vale simply replied, we're not here to take. We're here to remind. Remind us of what? That we remember who helped and who didn't. Unity Gathering didn't like that. 12 species, one fear. They began building a new weapon. Project Halo Spear. A mobile solar disruptor designed to pierce planetary shields and shut down Varnax 7's core gate system. It would arrive in 17 days, and no one would see it coming. But Earth saw everything. Terran, satellites, hidden, living, and built from Darren Kai, could already. Floated inside the Council's systems. They recorded every word, every plan, every lie. Eva Monroe watched the feed from Varnic 7 and whispered, so they gather. Dr. Elias stood beside her. Do we strike? First, Eva shook her head. No, she looked up. Let them come. Let them see what exile truly created. Back on the Unity base, the 12 Council leaders celebrated. They thought they were still in control. They didn't notice the shadow moving through their network. A ghost, trace, a signal. one that reached deep into the Halosphere's power core. And, left behind, a message not spoken, just carved into the main screen. We're not alone anymore, and neither are you. All across the galaxy. Whispers spread. Old races who stayed neutral began preparing bunkers. Black markets started trading. Anti-human tech scams. And far, far beyond the known sectors, something else watched. Not human, not Oryx. Something older, waiting. But for now, all eyes turned toward one location. The Halo-Sphere. 17 days. That's all the galaxy thought it had. And the humans. They didn't prepare for war. They just opened 3 more gates. Because Earth had already seen what the galaxy forgot. When enough powers gather in fear, they make the fire burn hotter. The galaxy held its breath. The Halosphere, the most advanced weapon ever created by the Unity Gathering, drifted through space like a silent blade, built in orbit above a dead star, powered by a fractured sun. Programmed with one mission, shut down the human gate system. No warning, no contact, just a clean strike to stop Earth, before it spread too far. They thought it would be simple. They thought wrong. The launch began. With silence across 12 systems, Unity leaders watched as the Halosphere activated. Its solar beam warmed, coordinates locked, VAR, NAK-7. They smiled. It's done, said High Elder Vital. Except, it wasn't in the outer rings of Varnic 7. Terran scouts detected the weapon minutes before it reached firing range, but they didn't scramble ships. They didn't panic. Instead, a single message was sent to every human vessel. Let them fire.
Ack.
On the Halosphere, Commander Exan of the Krell grinned. Target locked. Firing in 5, 4, 3. Then ERROR. The firing beam shut down. The control panels froze. The screens turned dark. And across the bridge, a cold message appeared. You've entered a Terran sphere. This weapon is now ours. They didn't understand until the walls of the Halosphere itself began to change. The smooth metal warped melted wrote itself. Human nanite code delivered. Months ago, through simple space, Dust woke up and took control. On Varnic 7, Eva. Monroe watched the feed. They gave us their best weapon, Kieran Ray said beside her. Eva smirked. Now, it's our first gift. To the galaxy. The Halosphere turned slowly, its power core still active, solar energy stored. But now, it was pointed the other way. Back toward the systems of the Unity Council. In a panic, dozens of war. Fleets launched from Oryx Prime, Krell stations, and Siren colonies. Disable the Halosphere, shut it down. Destroy it before it fires. Too late, the beam powered again stronger than before, but it didn't hit cities. It hit space. Docks. Massive shipyards used to build Unity weapons. And in seconds, they were gone. Burned. Melted. Erased Captain Arik Vale stood aboard the TNS Deliverance. Orbiting the battlefield, he sent one message to the Unity Gathering. You aimed at survivors. You hit warriors. Now feel what we remember. Panic exploded. Unity. Species turned against each other. The Verks blamed the Krell. The Krell blamed the Oryx, the Siren. It's pulled out of the Alliance completely, and all across the galaxy. The idea of human weakness vanished. News networks changed tone. Earth wasn't destroyed. It grew in the dark. It's not the same species anymore. Pirate bands and fringe colonies began flying Terran flags. Some out of respect. Some out of fear. All out of understanding, back on Oryx Prime. Ratal ordered a full retreat of remaining fleets, but the transmission didn't go through. The lines were jammed. By what? A simple Earth-made probe floating above their tower. It blinked red, then played one message. There's nowhere left to run. Dr. Alea stood before the main gate on Varnac 7 as new systems activated. He stared at the readings. Something's happening, he whispered. Eva stepped beside him. What is it? Turned, his voice steady. We didn't just take their weapon. We activated something older. Deep beneath Varnax 7, ancient Darrenkai machinery began to pulse, and on planets across the stars, identical pulses responded. Doors long buried began to open. Earth hadn't just connected its gates, it had awakened the network of a long-dead empire, and now it belonged to humanity. Far beneath the surface of Varnax 7, ancient machines began to wake. Not Terran, not Oryx. Older, these were the voices of the Darrenkai race that vanished long before the galaxy was mapped. No one remembered them. But now, through Terran hands, their legacy had returned, and the galaxy noticed across 11 systems, strange energy pulses appeared. Black spires rose from forgotten planets. Stone doors opened in silent deserts. Floating orbs, dormant for eons, began glowing with soft red light. No one could explain it, but everyone knew the cause. Earth had awakened something. On Varnax 7, Eva Monroe entered the central chamber. The walls pulsed with red veins of power. Dr. Alea scanned the floor. These systems connect everything, he said. It's like a nervous system stretched across space. Kieran Ray studied the star map overhead. It's not just gates, he added. It's an empire-wide grid. Defense, knowledge, energy. Eva stared ahead. Ow. The Darrenkai left behind a galaxy-sized skeleton, or the blood that woke it. Up. The message came unexpectedly. Not through sound, but through thought. A pulse. A vision. Every Terran with gate-linked implants heard the same words inside their mind. You carry pain. You carry war. You carry memory. You may enter. Was a key to everything. Meanwhile, the Unity gathering was falling apart. The Krell fleets abandoned their outer sectors. The Siren retreated to deep space. The Vrax began broadcasting surrender messages. Only the Oryx still pretended to lead. High Elder Veratal stared at a hologram of the ancient Darrenkai network now lighting. Up the galaxy, it's not theirs. He shouted, but he was wrong. The machines had chosen, and the humans had passed. On the edge of Gorth space, a hidden research station activated its sensors. They studied ancient relics for decades. Now. Artifacts were glowing, moving, humming, and the humans were already there. A Terran team entered without weapons. They placed their hands on the relic. It unlocked the Gorth. Scientists watched in silence. One of them whispered, they didn't steal it. It opened for them. Back on Varnax 7, inside, the core nexus memory archive played. Not human, not Oryx, but Daran-Chi. The hologram showed an ancient galaxy in fire, massive wars, planets burning, known creatures devouring systems. And then, silence. The Darrenkai had built their network not to rule, but to hide, to store knowledge, to survive a coming storm. Dr. Elia turned to Eva. This wasn't a gift, he said. It was a warning, Kieran added. They didn't fall from power. They saw something coming and vanished. Now humanity had activated their system, and something else. It felt it. In the empty space beyond known maps, a black ripple moved. Not a ship. Not a signal. Just a hole in the stars, eh? Hunger? And it was heading toward the Terran Gate system. Captain Eric Vale stood on the command deck of TNS. Deliverance as a message arrived from deep space. Unknown origin. No language. Just one phrase translated by the Darrenkai systems. We saw the fire once. We followed it. We are almost here. Ava's voice echoed across the nexus. The galaxy tried to destroy us. Instead, it gave us the keys. Now we face what they ran from. The story of humanity was no longer about revenge. It was about preparation, about finishing the work of a forgotten empire, and standing at the front of a war they never started. It might be the last to survive. A black wave moved through the stars. Not light, not shadow, just absence. Entire outposts went silent. Ships stopped responding. Moons turned cold. The old Darrenkai called it the unseen. They never fought it. They only hid. buried their knowledge, locked away their gates, and disappeared. But now, humanity had opened the gates again, and the unseen had felt it. It was coming, not in weeks, not in years. On Varnic 7, inside the Terran core nexus, red lights flashed, a deep vibration shook the chambers. Dr. Elias studied the readings. "This isn't just a signal," he said. "It's a presence." Kieran Ray stared at the map. Entire systems were going dark. One by one, M and Ro asked one question. "How long before it reaches us?" Kieran answered, voice flat. 5 days. Maybe less. The Unity Council sent no help. The Krell sealed their borders. The Oryx denied it was real. Only one species responded, a small insectoid race called the Zaylan. Known for staying hidden, they sent a short message. "We heard the stories. We never believed them. Now we see. We will fight beside you." Cross Varnic 7. Every gate powered up. Humanity called back its scouts, not to run, but to prepare. Shipyards worked without rest. Nanoforges created armor fused with Darrenkai alloy. New weapons activated, firing not with plasma, but gravity fields that tore silence itself. But even more powerful than weapons were the people, the new generation, born on Varnac 7, who had never known Earth. They could breathe oxygen air. They could sense movement through stone. They could connect without words. And now, they stood ready. Eva Monroe addressed them. "We were thrown into fire," she said. "We did not die. We built cities in storm. We unlocked what was lost. And now something is coming." She raised her hand. "We didn't light the fire that ended the Darrenkai. But now we hold it, and we won't run." In orbit, the TNS Deliverance met with the Zaylan fleet. Small ships, fast, weak alone, but the humans shared. Shield tech. The Zaylan gave star maps, old paths, forgotten zones. Together, they began planning back in the core nexus. Something else changed. A memory fragment played in the era. Darrenkai hologram. A woman in black armor stood in a room filled with stars. She said, "If you hear this, then the unseen has returned. You must not fight it with strength. You must fight it with knowledge." She pointed to a symbol, a star-shaped sigil. Locked in the system's deepest file, the humans unlocked it and found a map, not to a planet, to a weapon world lost in. A gravity well, outside of time. "We go there," Eva said. Kieran shook his head. "We might not come back," she smiled. "Then let's make sure it's worth the risk." The first Terran hybrid ship launched that night. Black wings, crimson engine trails. 5 pilots. No return signal planned. They dove into the gravity well, toward the weapon the Darrenkai never dared to use, back near the galaxy's edge. The unseen arrived at the first active gate. It didn't speak, it didn't warn, it simply erased the entire structure. Gone, no. Remains. No explosion, just silence. On. Varnic 7. Red lights turn blue. A sign from the Nexus. The final gate is now armed. It pulsed once, twice, then showed one word on every Terran screen. Stand. Because the final battle wasn't just about power, it was about memory, legacy, survival. The Darrenkai failed, but humanity. They were born in exile, forged in storms, and now they were the galaxy's last wall. The stars went dark. One by one, systems across the outer galaxy fell silent. No explosions. No battles. Just erased. The unseen had arrived, the same force that ended the Darrenkai. Now it faced humanity, but this time the outcome would be different. On Varnic 7, the core nexus lit up. Every human system connected. Zaylan scouts fed. New data. Terender Enea predicted the arrival zone. Eva Monroe stood on the war bridge. "All ships to forward position," she ordered. "We don't run. We don't beg. We stand." In the void above, TNS Deliverance and 200 allied ships formed a silent wall. Shadow moved beyond them. Not a fleet, not a creature. A space without stars moving like a storm. "Eating light," Captain Arikvale whispered. It's not just destroying. It's rewriting space. They had minutes. Then the gate opened. Not the Nexus gate. It's the deep one. The one buried in gravity. The ship, Eva Centi, NS, Mafal, returned. But changed. It didn't fly like a ship. It floated like thought. Inside, a device. The Darren Singularity Core, the weapon they feared to use, because it didn't just kill matter. Collapse dimensions. Eva stared at it. It could destroy us too. Kieran nodded. But if we fall, so does the galaxy. She looked up at the dark sky, then gave the order. Load the core. As the unseen reached the fleet line, the first wave arrived. Not ships, not bombs, echoes. They looked like copies twisted. Reflections of humans, Zalen, Norix. False. Wrong. Creatures. Of memory and decay. They rushed forward, and the war began. Terran guns lit up the void. Zalen fighters swarmed. AI shields adapted every second, and yet ships vanished in flashes of black. One by one, pieces of the line cracked. Captain Eric pushed forward. "This is it," he shouted. "If we fall loud." Then his screen blinked. Core ready. Stood at the Nexus. "You sure about this?" Dr. Elia asked. "No," she said, placing her hand on the activation crystal. "But they tried to end us once. Oh, we decide what ends." The Darren Singularity Core launched. A slow black sphere. It didn't explode. It expanded. Time bent. Ships stalled. The unseen paused, and then a burst of white. Not heat. Truth. It cut through the unseen like a knife. One by one, the false. Echoes collapsed. The shadow began to ripple, shake, and then scream, a soundless wave across space. Every being with a neural link dropped to their knees. Pain, memory, all at once. But inside that storm, humanity stood tall. Because they had already lived through fire, Eva watched the core bloom in space like a black rose. "It's holding," Kieran whispered. "For now," but then the storm pushed back. The unseen had one final form. Shape massive born of ancient energy. It tore 3 Terran ships in half with no contact and rushed toward the Nexus. Eva closed her eyes. No gates left. No moves left. Then a voice. Not hers. Not human. It echoed from the walls of the Nexus. "You carry the burden. You pass the test now. We help." The Nexus pulsed. Across the galaxy, old gates flared, ruins rose, and something else arrived. The last Arenkai, vessel hidden in a time loop. It returned. To finish what they started, the ancient ship collided with the storm. No weapons. Just energy. It folded space around the unseen and dragged it into nothing. Silence followed. No movement. Then one by one, ships powered up. Screens returned. Light returned. The unseen was gone. Aboard TNS Deliverance, Captain Arik dropped into his seat. "We made it." Kieran's voice replied, "No, we changed it." On Varnic 7, Eva stood beneath the stars. Once they were prisoners, now they were protectors. She sent a final message across the galaxy. "You exiled us to die. We became your shield. We don't ask for thanks. Just truth. Remember who stood when all others ran?" And for the first time in history, Galaxy listened, because the humans weren't the same species anymore. They were something older, feared. Something stronger became the future.